Welcome to a journey into the darkest corners of myth and legend. In today's video, we reveal the 10 most terrifying monsters of myth that have haunted human fears for centuries. From shadowy beasts lurking in ancient forests to legendary creatures that defy explanation, these monsters embody our deepest nightmares and cultural anxieties. Whether born from folklore, ancient texts, or whispered stories, their terrifying legacies continue to capture our imagination. Prepare yourself to meet the fearsome beings that still send chills down spines worldwide. Stay tuned and don't look away because some legends never truly die. The cannibalistic spirit, an ancient entity of ravenous hunger. Among these, one of the most terrifying is the cannibalistic spirit, a dark, insidious force that invades the mind and body, transforming ordinary people into ravenous monsters driven by an insatiable hunger. This spirit is not merely a metaphor for hunger or madness. It is a supernatural entity that corrupts the soul, erasing humanity and replacing it with a ceaseless craving for human flesh. This essay explores the origins, nature, and effects of the cannibalistic spirit, drawing on mythological themes, psychological implications, and symbolic meanings, while painting a vivid picture of what it means for a human to fall under its dreadful influence. Origins and mythological roots. Cannibalism, the act of consuming the flesh of one's own species, has been one of the most reviled taboos across cultures. Yet, in many mythologies, cannibalism is connected to spiritual corruption and demonic possession. Ancient spirits and possession myths. In many indigenous and ancient cultures, spirits or demons are believed to possess people to explain sudden changes in behavior, especially violent or unnatural ones. For instance, in Polynesian folklore, the Atis spirits are malevolent entities capable of taking over a person's body, causing madness or cannibalistic urges. In certain African traditions, possession by malevolent spirits is often linked to unnatural behaviors, including cannibalism, which is viewed as a sign of spiritual contamination. In European folklore, tales of werewolves and ghouls are symbolic manifestations of cannibalistic spirits, embodying the loss of humanity and the descent into primal savagery. The spirit's nature. The cannibalistic spirit is often described as a shadowy, intangible presence, sometimes called by names meaning the hunger, the devourer, or the ravenous one. It does not physically manifest but invades the mind and soul, whispering insidious cravings and corrupting the victim's essence. This spirit is believed to be ancient, predating even recorded history, a primordial force born of chaos and destruction, embodying the darkest human fears: loss of control, starvation, and the perversion of kinship through cannibalism. The process of possession. Signs and symptoms. Possession by this spirit begins subtly, often through prolonged exposure to extreme hunger, isolation, or traumatic events. The victim may initially experience intense and unexplainable hunger, unrelated to normal bodily needs. Nightmares involving consuming human flesh. A gradual detachment from loved ones and social norms. Increasing irritability and aggressive tendencies. As the spirit's hold tightens, these symptoms escalate. The victim may have blackouts or moments where they lose control. They begin to crave human flesh, first as visions or dreams, then as a compulsion. Physical changes may manifest, such as pale skin, sunken eyes, and sharp teeth or claws, depending on folklore variations. The victim's personality becomes dominated by the spirit's ravenous hunger, leading to violent outbursts. Psychological and spiritual explanation. Psychologically, this possession can be understood as a symbolic representation of extreme mental illness, perhaps psychosis, severe starvation-induced delirium, or dissociative states. Spiritually, the victim's soul becomes overshadowed, their true self suppressed beneath the malevolent entity's desires. The spirit feeds on the victim's humanity, their empathy, and social bonds, until only a monstrous hunger remains. This hunger is never sated. It is a bottomless void that grows with every act of consumption, creating a vicious cycle of destruction. Transformation into the ravenous monster. Once fully possessed, the victim ceases to be human in any meaningful sense. They become a ravenous monster, a creature whose sole purpose is to feed on human flesh. Behavioral characteristics. Relentless pursuit of prey. The monster relentlessly hunts humans, driven by the spirit's insatiable hunger. Loss of self-awareness. The victim no longer recognizes their actions or even themselves. Primal aggression. The monster exhibits savage strength and ferocity, attacking with abandon. Cannibalistic feeding. They consume not just flesh but sometimes even their own kin or loved ones, breaking all bonds of human decency. Physical changes. Mythological. Depending on the cultural narrative, the possessed may develop physical traits that mark their transformation. Eyes glowing with unnatural hunger or madness. Elongated teeth, fangs sharper than normal. Deformed or elongated limbs, as if the body itself is twisting into a monstrous form. Foul odor, sometimes described as the stench of decay or starvation. These physical signs warn others of the possession, though often the victim hides among normal humans until the hunger forces an eruption of violence. Symbolism and meaning. The cannibalistic spirit is a powerful metaphor with multiple layers of meaning. Hunger as a metaphor. Hunger here is not just for food but symbolizes despair and emptiness. The victim's soul is a void, aching for something to fill it. Addiction and compulsion. The spirit's hunger mirrors addiction, where the desire for more is uncontrollable and self-destructive. Loss of humanity. The descent into cannibalism represents the final loss of human dignity and social order. Cannibalism and social taboo. Cannibalism is one of the strongest taboos in human society, symbolizing a breakdown of trust and community. The possession reflects the ultimate alienation, where the victim becomes a danger not just to themselves but to the entire social fabric. Fear of the unknown and the other. The spirit embodies fears of the unknown inside ourselves. The primal, savage instincts that civilization restrains. It is a reminder of how thin the veneer of humanity can be and how easily it might be shattered. Examples in literature and popular culture. The concept of a cannibalistic spirit possessing humans has echoed through literature and media, influencing horror genres and supernatural folklore. In Lovecraftian mythos, entities like Nyarlathotep or the Deep Ones invoke possession themes, turning humans into monstrous versions of themselves. In horror films, the trope of a demonic possession driving cannibalism recurs, such as in the Evil Dead series where entities possess humans to devour flesh. In folklore, stories of Wendigos, cannibalistic spirits of the North American indigenous cultures, show similarities. The Wendigo is a spirit of greed and hunger that consumes those who break taboos by resorting to cannibalism, transforming them into monsters. The aftermath and curses. Once possessed, the victim rarely recovers. Exorcisms or spiritual cleansing rituals are sometimes attempted, but these spirits are notoriously resilient. The curse of the spirit. The spirit may transfer from one host to another through bite or blood. The hunger is contagious, infecting communities and spreading madness. Survivors of attacks often carry spiritual scars or curses. The moral lesson. Stories of such spirits often serve as warnings against succumbing to desperation or moral decay, against isolation and losing touch with community and empathy, against allowing base instincts to override reason and compassion. Modern interpretations, psychological and social perspectives. In modern terms, the cannibalistic spirit can be seen as a metaphor for severe mental illness, especially psychotic disorders that involve hallucinations and violent tendencies. Substance abuse and addiction. The insatiable hunger parallels addictive behavior destroying the self. Social alienation. The transformation into a monster represents losing connection to society and becoming dangerous to it. Psychologists and anthropologists might view these possession myths as ways ancient cultures explained extreme behaviors that today we understand medically. The cannibalistic spirit is a powerful and terrifying figure, rooted in ancient myth but still resonant today. It symbolizes the darkest aspects of hunger, not just physical but spiritual and psychological, and the catastrophic loss of humanity that follows possession by such a force. Through myth, folklore, and modern storytelling, it warns us about the fragility of the human mind and spirit, the consequences of alienation, and the dangers lurking when primal urges are left unchecked. Whether viewed as a literal supernatural entity or as a metaphor for internal struggle, the tale of the cannibalistic spirit remains a chilling reminder of what happens when hunger turns into a monstrous curse. A ravenous beast that consumes everything in its path, including the very soul of the one it possesses. The monstrous fire-breathing hybrid, lion's head, goat's body and serpent's tail, a symbol of chaos and destruction. Among such hybrids, one of the most compelling and terrifying is the creature with a lion's head, goat's body and serpent's tail, often imagined as fire-breathing. This monstrous chimera amalgamates traits of three distinct animals, each with deep symbolic resonance, to form an entity representing primal chaos and cataclysmic destruction. This creature is not just a figment of wild imagination but a symbol that resonates across cultures and epochs, embodying humanity's fears, moral lessons, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. Origins and mythological parallels. Though the exact creature with this precise combination is not always named explicitly in a singular ancient text, its components and symbolism draw from rich mythological traditions. The chimera in Greek mythology. The most famous three-animal hybrid in classical mythology is the chimera, described by Homer in the Iliad as a fire-breathing creature with the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent or dragon. The chimera was a monstrous offspring of Typhon and Echidna, who were themselves symbolic progenitors of many fearsome beasts. Lion's head represents ferocity, courage, and dominance. Goat's body, a symbol often associated with stubbornness, wilderness, and fertility. Serpent's tail, linked with cunning, danger, and the mysterious underworld. The chimera was an agent of destruction and terror, a living embodiment of chaos that ravaged the land until slain by the hero Bellerophon riding the winged horse Pegasus. The chimera's defeat symbolized the triumph of order and civilization over primal chaos and destruction. Symbolism of the composite parts. To understand why this hybrid represents chaos and destruction, it's essential to explore the symbolism of each of its parts. Lion's head. The lion is traditionally called the king of beasts, symbolizing strength, courage, and nobility. In many cultures, lions are guardians and protectors, but in this hybrid, the lion's power is twisted into something wild and untamed, a force of raw aggression. The lion's roar, amplified into a fire-breathing capability, represents overwhelming destructive power. The head as the controlling and commanding part of the body suggests that the creature's destructive will is driven by primal ferocity and domination. Goat's body. The goat has multifaceted symbolism. It is associated with fertility and vitality but also with stubbornness and wild nature. In this hybrid, the goat's body symbolizes the chaotic and untethered nature of the creature, representing an unpredictable, wild force. Goats are often linked with wilderness and survival in harsh environments, adding to the creature's image as an untamable force of nature. Historically, goats are sometimes connected to pagan or even diabolical symbolism, intensifying the creature's association with evil or unholy chaos. Serpent's tail. The serpent or snake is one of the most enduring symbols in human mythologies worldwide. It embodies cunning, danger, death, and rebirth, due to its skin shedding. The tail's serpentine nature symbolizes the lurking, insidious threat of destruction from behind or below. The serpent's poisonous bite and stealth make the creature dangerous not only through brute force, lion, and wild stubbornness, goat, but also through sly, venomous menace. Fire-breathing, the elemental force of destruction. Adding the attribute of fire-breathing to this hybrid elevates its symbolic menace. Fire is a primal element. It sustains life, purifies but also destroys. The creature's fire breath is a manifestation of uncontrollable elemental chaos. Fire can raise entire cities, consume forests, and reshape landscapes, making it a perfect metaphor for the creature's destructive capacity. Symbolically, fire is also linked to divine wrath, purification, and the destructive power of nature, suggesting this beast is an agent of both punishment and devastation. The hybrid as a symbol of chaos. This monstrous hybrid embodies chaos in multiple dimensions. Physical chaos. The combination of three very different animals into one creature defies natural biological order, making the hybrid itself a physical symbol of disorder. The beast's hybrid nature suggests the breaking of natural boundaries and categories, a living anomaly and aberration. Moral and spiritual chaos. Mythological hybrids like this creature are often depicted as antagonists to human society and divine order. The creature symbolizes the forces that threaten moral and cosmic order, destruction, anarchy, and evil. In religious or mythological narratives, such beasts can represent temptation, sin, or the destructive results of hubris and defiance of divine law. Cosmic chaos. The fire-breathing hybrid can be seen as a representation of cosmic chaos, the primordial, untamed forces before creation or between epochs. It symbolizes the constant potential for destruction inherent in the cosmos, an ever-present threat that heroes or gods must confront. The creature in cultural and literary contexts. Greek mythology and heroic narrative. In Greek mythology, monsters like the chimera serve to highlight the hero's virtues. Bellerophon's victory over the chimera is a metaphor for human reason and civilization conquering savage chaos. The hybrid creature is a test of bravery, strength, and divine favor. Its defeat restores order and allows society to flourish. Christian and medieval symbolism. In medieval Christian bestiaries and art, hybrids mixing lions, goats, and serpents often symbolize the devil or demonic forces. The goat body recalls the scapegoat and satanic imagery. The serpent tail evokes Satan's guise as a serpent in the Garden of Eden. The lion's ferocity embodies the wrath and power of evil. Thus, this creature embodies the spiritual enemy, a force against God's order and humanity's salvation. Modern fantasy and popular culture. Contemporary fantasy literature, movies, and games often draw from this archetype to create formidable monsters symbolizing ultimate threats. The fire-breathing hybrid monster is used to challenge heroes and represent apocalyptic or end-times danger. It appears in role-playing games, fantasy novels, and graphic art as a symbol of destructive power beyond human control. Psychological and archetypal interpretations. From a Jungian perspective, the monstrous hybrid can be viewed as an archetype representing the shadow, the chaotic, destructive, and repressed forces within the human psyche. The lion's head stands for raw, aggressive instincts. The goat's body reflects untamed desires and stubborn passions. The serpent tail symbolizes hidden fears and cunning. The fire breath could represent destructive anger or transformative power that, if unchecked, consumes the self. This creature confronts us with the primal parts of ourselves that civilization seeks to contain. The monster as a warning and a lesson. In myth, monstrous hybrids like this serve as cautionary symbols. They warn against the dangers of hubris. Humans trying to control or embody chaotic power often suffer ruin. The creature's destruction is a reminder of nature's fury and the consequences of disturbing cosmic balance. It teaches respect for limits, of power, knowledge, and nature. Artistic depictions and iconography. Historically, artists have portrayed this hybrid in various ways. Ancient pottery and mosaics often show the chimera with a lion's head front, goat's head mid-body, and snake's tail curling behind. Medieval manuscripts and bestiaries depict similar creatures to illustrate moral lessons. Modern fantasy art amplifies the fire-breathing aspect, with glowing eyes, scorched landscapes, and a terrifying aura of destruction. The creature's iconography highlights the fusion of beauty and horror, power and madness. A timeless symbol of chaos and destruction. The monstrous hybrid with a lion's head, goat's body, and serpent's tail, especially as a fire-breathing beast, is a powerful mythological symbol. It stands for the chaotic forces that threaten order, civilization, and life itself. By combining three potent animal symbols with elemental fire, it embodies a primal terror and destructive power that has fascinated humanity for millennia. As a cultural, spiritual, and psychological symbol, this hybrid monster reminds us of the fine line between creation and destruction, order and chaos. It challenges heroes, warns societies, and explores the dark recesses of human nature, making it one of mythology's most enduring and compelling figures. Thanks for joining us on this chilling journey through the 10 most terrifying monsters of myth that still haunt our fears. These creatures remind us how powerful stories can be, shaping our nightmares and cultures across time. If you enjoyed diving into these dark legends, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a mythic mystery. Have a monster or legend you want us to explore next? Drop it in the comments below. We love hearing your spooky favorites. Until next time, stay curious and beware what lurks in the shadows.